course.
So maybe just to summarise really what we're saying, when we started out working together, there was a sense of, is it just about careers education, giving more information? And what we learned, I think, was that it's that face-to-face contact as well as harnessing the technology, which is indeed what education employers have done to help people make the connections.
Well, absolutely. I mean, going back to 2008, there was a government-commissioned literature review which very clearly said that the literature wasn't fit for purpose. If as we found, and we did our own work 10 years later, the evidence has improved significantly since then. And you're right. Kind of the authenticity. We need to treat this as professionally as we teach other aspects of schooling.
Well, one of the things, and I want to finish on this note, Anthony, that well, maybe there's two things. One, I want to mention your book again. How's it coming along? 'Cause you've got a second edition coming out.
That's right. So a couple of years ago we published Understanding Employer Engagement in Education, which was the first time there's been a collection of essays, academic essays, on the subject. And we included in that some pretty groundbreaking pieces of work on theorising employer engagement, work on economic outcomes, work on equality, social mobility, who gets what. And Routledge have just confirmed that they will be publishing a second volume on the same theme, and we can expect that out in probably next year.
Terrific. So Anthony, do you plan to keep in contact with education employers after your new role?
Of course, yeah, no, absolutely. The charity is setting up an advisory council, and I'd be very proud to be involved in that on a voluntary basis, of course. The team here is really very, very strong. It works with brilliant people, yourself included, and it's making real progress. And I think I've found that in any aspect of research, it's inherently collaborative. You can only make progress by working with people, and we share ideas, and I'll draw upon some of the ideas which are generated here, and I'm sure some of the ideas which I'm exposed to will be of value to kind of the team here. It's a republic of knowledge. We're trying to sort of push back the boundaries, and I've been really proud to be involved in pushing that a certain way. There's further to go, and I feel really confident that we'll see ongoing and really important work here.
Final question for me. If I were to say, what project have you been most excited about that's really, really fired you up?
There's so much. I think it's a combination of work which uses quantitative data, kind of hard data from big surveys or longitudinal studies, but also draws upon kind of theorizations of change. And theory can sound a bit complicated and a bit difficult to understand, but I only think it's useful if it's useful. And I think some of the stuff around social capital and these different capitals is helpful. It does help us to draw connections and visualise what we think is happening and make sense of that. And there's two pieces I think which I've been really proud of being able to work on over the last year, and we'll come out. And I've worked with a really good team here with Elnaz Kashef-Pakdal, who's a fabulous researcher, with Jordan Murray-Hill, who's a brilliant research assistant. And there's a team here which has worked very closely with the Careers Enterprise Company, with other people in this area, with yourself, with Prue Huddleston, with big names in this field. And the two projects which I'm really excited about. One is a piece about the indicators. Can we draw upon the longitudinal data, those big data sets, to identify indicators of, related to, kind of experiences with the world of work or attitudes about the world of work, which teenagers possess, and how well they do later on. Can we do that? Because if we go, I'm very well known for up to 4 interventions being linked to earnings, premiums, or sort of or reductions of being neat. Well, that's an indicator. You do this, you get that. And we've been sort of trawling through,
yes.
through, all sets of quantitative data sets to try and find other ones and connect them, look at them thematically, and to try and turn them into a tool where I could say that they're not perfect, but these exist and they tell us a truth or tell us a series of truths, which is on average a young person who will say this about their perceptions of the world of work, or has this experience, will on average earn more later on. And if we look at them all together, what we would imagine is that young people who are ticking the right boxes in terms of those indicators as 16-year-olds can be expected to do better or to do to optimise their outcomes, do as well as could be expected compared to somebody who's just like them. Similar sorts of qualification levels, similar sort of social background. And we want to turn that into a practical tool. And that's something which I'm really excited about, because it's taking kind of hard data and turning it into something which could be a series of ticks in a questionnaire, which should allow a professional to say, yeah, okay, that kid needs more work. That intervention worked really well because things changed. And the second piece of work which I've been doing for the Education Endowment Foundation, which has done some really interesting and growing amount of work in this field. And there it's about trying to kind of make sense of employer engagement in education as a tool which practitioners can use. And there I've been reviewing some of the theoretical work. I've been reviewing the evidence we've got around outcomes, hard outcomes, and trying to make sense of and how different activities can line up and be useful to creating these outcomes for young people, whether that's about decision making, about what you do at 14, at 16, at 18, whether it's about gaining the kind of the knowledge and the skills and the experience which allows you to get a job, whether it develops similar qualities in allowing you to thrive in that job in this 21st century labour market, or whether it sort of underpins your education and your engagement in the education process. And I think there are ways of stepping back and trying to make sense of employer engagement, which I think is really important. I think if we look back over the, it's over half a century since work experience first became a publicly funded activity in British schools. We've done so much of this, but for so long it's been seen as those rather often small standalone activities. We do a bit of enterprise activity, we do a bit of careers, and there's a golden thread which runs through all of these, and that's about the connection between young people and their future economic lives. And I think we've made some good progress. I'm really proud of the progress which I've made. It's been a brilliant team, it's been a brilliant charity, and the charity has made so much of this work and taking the insights and turning them into practice, but there's so much more which can be done, and I feel very confident will be done.